What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, we're going to talk about the Warriors and how I believe they might be comparable to the 1996 to 1998 Chicago Bulls. I'm not, I know, that sounds a little crazy. I'm talking about right now Warriors, too. But before we talk more about that, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, comment, tell anyone about the show. Trying to get the ratings up a little bit, just a little bit. But the Warriors and Bulls, you might be thinking, how do they even compare, right? Warriors aren't at the top of the league. I hear it. And keep in mind, too, I actually started writing this whole episode out talking about Jimmy Butler. And I started realizing some other stuff. So that's why I'm curious what y'all think about this topic. But speaking of Jimmy, since the acquisition of Jimmy Butler, the Warriors have gone 16-4, at least since March, or up until March 27th. That was the record, right? And keep in mind, during that 20-game span, 17 of those games, they had 11 teams that they actually beat. And those teams had a higher win percentage than 500. That means if your record's 11-11, you're at 500. And they had 11 teams that they beat that had that similar record. So it was either you're 500 or better. That's pretty good. And keep in mind, there's a such thing as strength of schedule, meaning the NBA ranks your team's strength of schedule in comparison to other NBA teams. And at the beginning of the season, the Warriors did have the 24th strongest schedule. Now, keep in mind, that's not that high. Since Jimmy, though, they have an 11th ranking for strength of schedule. Like, that's kind of crazy. SOS, please someone help me. They got Jimmy. That's crazy. So they've been doing their thing since the acquisition. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, you might have thought, well, hey, Jimmy's going to bring some cons, right? Like he might bring some distractions. Like even take, for example, the Miami Heat game. You might view the idea that there was rumblings that Miami might not get him a tribute game. That might be viewed as a distraction. I hear that. I do. You might also think that him pairing with Draymond could be a little tricky. Maybe they butt heads too much, right? How about his personality clashing potentially with the Warriors team overall, not just Draymond Green? Because it's not like Jimmy is the nicest guy perception-wise. He could be a little rough around the edges perception-wise. So maybe that happened. Maybe that's your gripe, right? How about as you get older, your habits don't really change. So you might think Jimmy's going to be the same person that he always was on every single team, even though it's Steph's squad. I hear those. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that's the case right now. And keep in mind, too, they have been doing pretty well. So let's see what happens as the season goes on and as the postseason commences. But for that Bulls comparison, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, the star of the Bulls was Michael Jordan. And Steph Curry is the star of the Warriors. Both are immense players who changed the game. And both are clutch. Extremely clutch. I've talked about that before, so go check that episode out if you have not already. But MJ got 9 game winners at the buzzer. Steph got 10. So it's safe to say that these players with these well-decorated careers can be stars. And y'all might have thought Jimmy Butler could be a star because, again, he's had to be a star at a few places he's played. Well, he can be Scottie Pippen, the second option. I'm okay with that. Now, I have called him Jimmy Jeffrey Jordan before, but he don't have to play just like his daddy, ladies and gentlemen. He can let Steph do that, and he worry about Scottie's role, which was cool. Scottie can be the all-around defensive specialist that he was. That can be Jimmy easily. And if he ever needs to turn it up, he can. And keep in mind, y'all might be wondering, well, who the third option? Who's going to be Dennis Rodman? Well, I can see that as Draymond Green, actually. Like the impact that Draymond Green had could be similar-ish to Dennis Rodman. I'm not saying Draymond Green is going to get 15 rebounds in the season, but I'm saying the impact. It could be that of a Dennis Rodman. It could be that of a Horace Grant, even though Horace was during that first step. That's what I'm looking at it as. And then y'all might be wondering, who in the world is going to be Tony Kukoc then? Please don't say Jonathan Kuminga. But I say Jonathan Kuminga. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the initial expectations of Tony Kukoc, you got to remember about. And you got to think that rivals that of Jonathan Kuminga. Both of them were expected to have really good NBA careers. Tony did, in part because he played his role. And I think Jonathan Kuminga could actually play this role, but also have that Grayson Allen on Duke's 2015 championship squad, where you come out and you're like the fourth guy, maybe less than. But people know your name off this game. I could see Jonathan Kuminga in this situation. And again, playing that Tony Kukoc role, giving him 15 plus a game, that's very doable for Kuminga. And he's going to have some defensive capability as well, too. Oh, my gosh, that's going to be amazing. Now we got to talk about the other role players like Steve Kerr. And keep in mind, Steve Kerr was a solid shooter. And they got Steph Curry. Keep in mind, Steve Kerr is the coach of the Warriors right now. So that's kind of fun to note always. But they can have Buddy Hield or Podolski do similar things to that Steve Kerr did. I think that's fair. Now, where you might have a little issue is the height, because, all right, cool, I hear you. Luke Longley, Bill Winnington, Dickie Simpkins, those are your big guys, right? Oh, I forgot about Ron Harper, because that could be Gary Payton II. Again, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of comparisons outside of the height. I do hear you. You can have some trepidation around the height. Until we think of players like Kevon Looney, who has been here before. He's a champion on the Warriors, in fact, so he knows the system pretty well. He knows his role. How about Quentin Post, who's young and 7 foot, can't teach height. And then also for the power forward slot, Trace Jackson Davis. I love the energy he brings to the game. And he's shown he can play a little small ball center. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Warriors right now, I told y'all, they have Steph, who's a star, and we could talk about if he's as clutch as Jordan or not. In some arguments. Then you got Jimmy Jeffrey Jordan at Scottie Pippen's position. That's tough. Like, this Warriors team have a lot of pieces to utilize. So I'm going to be honest with y'all. If the Warriors lose early, I'm actually looking down at Steve Kerr, because he has a solid team in place right now that should be viewed as a contender. And again, ladies and gentlemen, when I say the Bulls, I'm not talking about the Warriors will win a 3-peat. I'm not saying that. If they ever do, I will be honest and say I did not predict that. That would be surprising. But I think they could win a championship right now, especially if everyone's healthy on their team. So again, ladies and gentlemen, the Warriors of 2025 can, in fact, look like the 1996 Bulls. But I'm curious, y'all thoughts. What do you think about the Warriors this season compared to the 96 Bulls, or the 97 Bulls, or the 98 Bulls? Pick a season. I don't care. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. But definitely please like, subscribe, comment. Tell anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. Hope you all are having a good one. Take care.